The Murphy Models MM0233 Class 201 in the Enterprise livery is one of the last of the Class 201s still available through the normal retail channels at a reasonable price. How does it stand up as a model in 2020, and is it worth taking the plunge and buying this now? Let's find out. Hi, thanks for joining today's review. So we're going to break this review into a number of sections, so feel free to jump ahead to any section that's of particular interest. We're going to kick off with an unboxing, then we'll do a close-up view, which will include a 360 view of the model. We'll then go through a short running session, we'll do a summary, and then a final scoring and recommendations. I do have a last section at the end in terms of a cab lighting issue with this particular model and a number of the other Class 201s from Murphy Models. So if you're interested in that, you can pick that one up at the end. Okay, let's get going. So we're going to start off with the unboxing. So the first thing we're going to do is just take a look at the model we're looking at, and it's the MM0233, or the IE River Clare. Which is a Class 201 from Murphy Models, and it's in the so-called Enterprise livery, which is actually on the box there, you can see. It's part of a limited edition of 250 pieces. You might often see this because it's actually hidden underneath the packaging and in the bottom of the box, so a lot of people actually don't even see that piece. It comes with the standard kind of data sheet, which is pretty minimalistic in terms of the 201. Gives a little bit of background on the 201 there, and also talks about where you install the decoder. So that's pretty well it. It's so this comes 21-pin DCC ready, and it does have the benefit of this very easy installation, I suppose, through the roof. For your DCC decoder, and it has a pre-installed speaker. Now, it's probably not the best speaker in the world, and we'll get to that when we do the final review. So this is the actual model itself. So just take that top piece off there, and they really recommend that you remove the model from the box using the actual plastic sleeve that comes with it, and that tends to avoid any kind of struggling with getting it out of the box. So this is the 201 Enterprise MM0233. Is that the model number? Also known as the River Clare, and that name actually appears just over the window in Gaelic on one side and in English on the other side. It's probably one of the less spectacular liveries, I guess, for the 201. But nevertheless not a bad one. They all share the same sort of detail and styling, so you'll get the detail around the front there, and I do particularly like the yellow ends on these ones. Nice wipers, nice grab rails. The lighting again is the same. These have got headlights, directional lights, and they also have cab lights, and they're all individually controlled, so that is quite nice. So there's I think around the cab areas is very good, a lot of nice detail. We will do a kind of a more close-up view in just after this, and we'll do a 360 view as well. As I say, it is probably one of the more muted liveries. The kind of yellow liveries are obviously quite striking. They do share the same sort of underbody, which is in a black, and I think the black underbody actually works well for these locomotives. Some of the versions that are the kind of Enterprise versions, so Enterprise in terms of application, not name, come with the grey bogies and underbody, and that actually doesn't seem to look as good. It looks a little bit toy-like, and I don't feel it has the same effect. This one looks quite good. They tend to need a little bit of weathering to make them look a little bit more realistic. I think this one is okay as it is. A little bit of weathering obviously wouldn't go astray, but I think these ones are fine as they are. So they really all share the same sort of bogie detail, which is very good. I think there is a good level of underbody detail there, as you can see. Again, we'll see that in the side-on view and in the under view. On this side, slightly different. So you've got the nice red pieces caught out there, and some more molded, just showing kind of the molded ducting going on in there. So it's probably not the most spectacular, as I say, overall livery, and of the different Class 201s. It probably wouldn't be the favorite. These ones are still available. As I say, you can still get these through the retail channels, whereas a lot of liveries have sold out now already, and really pretty well a lot of the Murphy Models locomotives are pretty well selling out through the retail channels at this point. So it probably hasn't been the most popular, and I think one of the reasons for that is the difficulty in getting rolling stock. So there isn't off-the-shelf rolling stock for this in the Enterprise livery. I will be running with some Mark IVs, repainted Mark IVs, which have been nicely repainted actually. So I'll be using that for the running session. But without that, you're kind of struggling a little bit. So I can appreciate that, and people might use this for some maybe freight applications or something like that. So that's the first look. We're going to take a detailed side-on view now, and then we'll also do a 360 view followed by the running session. And in the running session I will be installing the DCC sound module into the top cover here. Just this little piece here is what comes off. I don't have the tool handy, but I can probably just about take that off. But I'll leave it for now. So I will be adding in the sound module. We will be running it with sound just to give us the best effect when we're doing the running session. Okay, so it's a nicely weighted model. It's good build quality. I think it's a good level of detail. As I say, not maybe the most spectacular of the liveries, and I think in particular the Enterprise there, which doesn't get picked up too well even by the camera. You'll see it a little bit clearer on the side-on view, because the contrast level isn't that good between the gold lettering and the gold of the logo and the dark green background, so it doesn't give you quite a strong contrast, and I think that might have been something that a slightly better job could have been done on that perhaps. Just one last point before I put this back in the box here, just to be aware of, is the box is actually keyed. So if you look at the detail on the box there, there's a raised section there and a slightly lower section for the underbody, and that's to match to the actual underbody itself. So it will, or it should only go in one direction. If you try to put it in the other direction, you'll be forcing it in against the actual molding in the box, which wouldn't be a good idea. So we're going to put it in the correct way, and we'll use the plastic sheet to do that, and it goes in very nicely. Okay, let's go on to the next section of the review. Okay, so now we're going to take a close-up look along the side of the model here, and get a feel for the detail, the handrails there, the grills on the top, the nice bogie detail, the nice piping detail under the top body there. Again, some nice underbody detail. The Enterprise logo, which, as I said, there's just a little bit of an issue with the contrast on that. It could be a little bit better. It is a bit better. There is an alternative River Lagan repainted Class 201, which actually has a nicer rendition of the Enterprise logo. But again, you know, good body detail in general, very nice paintwork, again, nice bogie detail. All in all, a top-notch model, to be fair, with some very nice detail overall. So now we're going to do a 360 view of the locomotive, and this will give us a look at the yellow ends and the lighting. So some very nice grab rails, all the distinctive features that you come to expect from a 201 from Murphy Models. They're all here on this particular model. It has identical lighting to all of the other 201s. The nice buffer beams. The buffers on this one don't turn to move around. There's some of the other, that like the River Dargle, for example, the buffers tend to spin a little bit, and you have to kind of get them in order. They don't look that realistic. And also the black underbody, I think here is the better of the underbody colors. The grey underbody, which you do get on some of the other 201s, a little bit toy-like. So overall, this is a top-notch model. It does look really good. And I suppose the main issues that people have, the challenges, is around getting suitable rolling stock. Obviously, if you use this for more kind of industrial freight applications, then that's not so much of an issue. But a very top-notch looking model, and I think definitely something worth consideration. So let's get to the running session. So now we're going to get to the running session. So we're starting up the locomotive here. We've got the lights on, both the cab lights, the headlights, and the main directional lights. And we're running this with the MM0044 DCC sound decoder. So we'll get underway in a minute. So this locomotive, I guess the 201s, the other 201s that I've reviewed, have all been very good performers, and no reason to expect this to be any different. You do get manufacturing fluctuations because obviously these are manufactured in different batches, and there is actually one fluctuation which I'll get to later on, which doesn't affect the running performance. It actually affects the lights, as I mentioned, the cab lights, and that's affects a particular number of batches. So you can get differences in performances. I've seen it on the 071s actually, with different levels of performance across some of them being a bit harsher than others. This performed really well during the running session, and I've tuned the CV settings a little bit on the high side, so to probably increase the speed a little bit more. So my prototypical speed is actually a bit on the high side, so apologies for that. It just runs a bit over the 100 miles an hour when we get up to top speed. But I think what it does represent is that this locomotive has excellent low speed performance, both on DC and DCC, isn't impacted by any of your kind of track irregularities like your points, diamonds, insulfrog points, etc. There's no issues with any of those, and performs really well at both low speed and at high speed, and a particular high speed kick that it has, which I actually really like, and you'll probably see it just at the very end of this running session. I do have a full running session of this, which is actually pretty good because of this is a really nice performing locomotive. So I'll put a link in the description to that if you want to check that out separately. It'll kind of show you the performance at kind of from low speed to high speed, and it probably excels at the high speed end, but really good at the low speed end as well. I'm running with Mark IV Hornby coaches here that have been repainted in the Enterprise livery, the older Enterprise livery. So they do give a good sort of representative sort of rolling stock. They're probably not as refined a coach type as the Mark IIIs from Hornby, but they do perform really well at speed, and I've never had any issues with them. So they really are top performing coaches. They're very robust and they do perform really well. So running with a reasonable rake here, and they're doing really well. And I've mainly open coaches, but I do have a restaurant coach as well that's been repainted here. So we're just gone through the paces of speed there, and we're just kind of slowing down now. And as I said, if you look at the running session, the separate video on that, you'll get a good healthy view of the high speed performance. And here now we're going to slow it down, so you kind of get a view of the lower speed performance as we come into the station and come to a stop. And I really enjoyed the running session with this locomotive. It really performed really well. It's as good as, if not better than, any of my other 201s. So really good performer. You know, a pleasure to control a train like this. You know, very responsive and no issues whatsoever. Just that one issue with the cab lighting, which I'll talk about later on at the end of the video. So coming to a gradual halt here. Top-notch running session, fantastic power, fantastic speed. Okay, so we've got to the summary section. So we have been reviewing the Murphy Models MM0233 Class 201 in the Enterprise livery, and this is the also known as the River Clare. An equivalent locomotive, similar livery, not identical, is the MM0230, which is the River Bandon. And I think both of these are still available, so they came out together and they are still available. It's 21-pin DCC ready, and it comes with a very convenient installation. So you'll just stick a photograph into the video there so you can see. You can easily install this with a small panel on the top of the locomotive, and you can insert your 21-pin socket in there, and it comes with a pre-installed speaker. Now, you may want to change the speaker, in which case you're going to have to open up the locomotive, but if you don't want to do that, then it's a very easy install. Use the MM0044, which is the Murphy Models module. It's locks on forward based, or an equivalent, and there are other variants available for this. Extra features are the independent directional headlights and cab lighting, and as I said, the ease of use in terms of the sound installation, and there are spring buffers on both ends of the coach. One comment on the lighting is this particular model, I did have an issue that the cab lighting the directionality of the cab lighting was incorrect, and I'll cover that off at the very end of the video. There's a separate section at the end to talk about that and how you resolve that. The retail selling price currently in the £139–159 range as of August 2020. These are still available through the regular retail channels, so you don't have to go to a premium price on eBay yet. But I would expect that these will sell out pretty quickly, and then you'll expect to see that price go up. So from a scoring perspective, this is a 5-star performer, and a particularly 5-star performer at the higher end in terms of high speed, but really good at the low end as well. So it beats the Bachmann equivalents. Hope I don't disappoint people in saying that. It is better, and it has a better high speed performance than those, and than most other locomotives, in all honesty. So this is a really good performing locomotive, top notch, and I really can't fault it. Appearance and detail, 4.5 star. This particular livery is probably a little bit bland, but and that registration of the Enterprise branding on it is probably detracts from it a little bit as well, but still a very nice livery and a nice level of detail. So 4.5 stars is a good overall score here. Sound, the default is that it doesn't come with sound, so you have to add the MM0044, and I'm giving that a 4-star rating combined with the onboard speaker. I think if you were to augment the speaker, you could probably increase that maybe a half a point or maybe even more, so that's maybe something to look at. The extras, 3-star. It doesn't unfortunately come with the driver, and that's just something all the Murphy Models locomotives don't tend to have a pre-fitted driver, which I do like to see. I do like that on the Bachmanns, so that would be a nice extra to have. The build quality, I'm giving it a 4.5 star, and just docking it a little bit because of the that issue with the lighting. And then the packaging and docks, a 3-star. The documentation on this is pretty sparse, and there is a particular issue with the packaging, and I have a separate video and I'll include the link in the description in relation to the packaging, which is an issue, and it's something to watch for. So if you own one of these locomotives and you're selling it to somebody and you're going to ship it through the post, I would advise you look at that video before you do that. The price value, 4-star. I think the price value is still pretty good at those retail prices, so you're getting a top-notch locomotive at, you know, that kind of a typical price for a DCC ready locomotive from any of the other vendors, and I think this is a better locomotive in many cases than a lot of its competition. Overall, a 4.5 star rating, and if I'm, in terms of recommendation, it is highly recommended. I like pretty well all the 201s. This is a really nice locomotive with excellent performance, very good build quality. It's probably the livery is what people don't like about it as such, but you've got a top-notch locomotive here, and I think even if you were to use it for, say, freight applications, it's a very nice locomotive. Obviously, if you can get some of the coaches, the repainted coaches, that would be nice as well. So in answer to the question as to whether this is worth a purchase in 2020, the answer I would say is yes. You will not lose out on this. The price of Murphy Models 201s is only going in one direction in the next 6 months, and this is a chance to pick this up at a reasonable price before it becomes, skyrockets, and it becomes very difficult to get it again, and you're paying a very high premium, a second aftermarket price for it. So my advice would be, if you've an interest in this, take a look at the running session. I think it's worth an investment. Okay, so I'm going to finish the review at this point. If you do want to watch the last section on the cab light direction problem, it's very easily fixed. It is only on this particular model and a couple of other models of the 201. So feel free to watch the next few minutes if you want to pick that up. Otherwise, thanks for joining today's review. I hope you liked this review of the 201, and I hope to see you on the next one. And in the meantime, happy modeling. Okay, so for anybody who wants to get a little bit more about this cab light problem, let's talk about it. So the issue we have is the problem that the cab lights are actually coming on in the wrong direction. So you've got your DCC installed, and you're now controlling the directions of the locomotive, and you've turned your cab lights on, and lo and behold, you find that the cab lights are coming on in the rear end when they should be coming on at the front. And I've shown an example here with the River Boyle. If you look on the left hand side there, we've got our main directional lights and headlights going forward. Our cab lights are turned on, but they're not on. And then if we reverse direction, we get our rear lights on and the cab lights will come on. So it affects certain batches. It affects the MM0233 that we've just reviewed. It does affect the River Boyle. I suspect it probably impacts the River Lagan as well. So it is easily rectified. You know, some people may dig into adjusting the CVs to change this. You don't need to do that. It's not the problem. The problem is it's just not wired correctly. And the wiring is actually a very easy thing to change. So if you open up your socket on the roof, you'll see your 21-pin DCC socket there, and you'll see these two sockets which are actually feeding the connectivity to the LEDs in the front cab and the rear cab. And the problem is they're connected in the wrong way. So the wrong connector is in the wrong socket. Interestingly enough, you'll see that kind of red dye that's on the socket there, and that was obviously put there during manufacturing to kind of indicate which socket to plug it into. And unfortunately, that is the wrong socket. So the socket that has the red dye on it should not be plugged into the receptacle that has the red dye. So you need to swap them over. But when you do swap them over, just make sure to keep the directionality on each socket correct. So you can see them there. You've got black and red, black and red. You just need to make sure that you replicate that when you reinstall them. So it's simply a matter, ease these out with a jeweler's screwdriver, or even the little tool that you have for opening the roof will probably help you get them out. And then just swap them over with keeping the polarity correct with your black and red, and that fixes the problem. And so I haven't really heard about this before until I saw it on this particular model, and then I saw it on the River Boyle as well. So very easy to change, and everything is good once you make that change, and you'll get the correct cab lighting in the right direction. Okay, so hope that helps if this was an issue you had. And so that's all for today's video. So thanks for joining, and I hope this was useful. Okay, bye for now.